Hey everyone, today I am going to show you the wiring on an upgraded starter for your old Mustang or Cougar or whatever Ford you have. All starters are pretty much the same for the last 100 years except for the brand new stuff. It's super easy. If you want to keep your starter solenoid, I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So you have your starter solenoid, you have one wire going to the battery. Super easy. You leave that alone, don't touch it. So basically, you put your starter wire exactly where it was, right? Boom. Goes there. Goes to this one on the terminal, says battery. So you leave that alone. Literally all you have to do to keep your solenoid is run a wire from here to here. So that all you gotta do. Super simple, super easy. Now, there's another way to do it on the starter solenoid. I don't really see why you would want to do it this way, but you can. The next way is you take your starter wire, move it to the other side of the terminal, and put it just like that. Okay? It's still on the battery terminal. Now, what you do with this wire is you connect it here, and then it goes to this side of the starter solenoid. Now, I don't know why you would do that. It is an option. It would probably put a lot less load on your OEM starter solenoid. Might be a good thing for longevity. Now, I want to get rid of my starter solenoid. Super easy. So you have all this stuff labeled. This one has an I on it and this has an S. If you have your stock ignition, this will not work. When your car is cranking, this one gives you 12 volts to the coil to help it start. If you have an aftermarket ignition and you already have 12 volts to the starter solenoid and all that stuff, this is what you can do to get rid of your starter solenoid. All you do is add a relay. Shows you this. Now, this wire will still, the battery wire will just go directly to the starter. Or you can use a distribution block or however you want to do it. Battery, power, the positive side of the battery just goes to the battery on the post. Boom. All you got to do for that. The next part is you have to wire in a relay. So, what do? You run this to a good ground, 85. All of the relays have numbers and they're labeled. You can get whatever diagram you want for your relay if you're using a different relay. I'm pretty sure all numbers are the exact same on every relay. So, the S that was on your starter solenoid now goes to 86 on your relay. Super easy. Then you want a 12 gauge wire from your battery to the 30 on the relay. Next, you want the 87 to the ignition on the starter, which is just this bad boy right here. Super easy. Now, it will be easier just to keep your starter solenoid. I personally hate all the wires. Now, let's go put this in the car. When uninstalling the starter, there are two bolts. There's one here and one here. And then you have the battery cable bolt. Well, it's not really a battery cable. The cable that goes to the battery. If you can reach it, you want to take this off first. If you can reach it. Sometimes you'll have to pull out this assembly, move it back, twist it a little bit to get that off. Super easy. Bolt here, bolt here, take off the battery cable. After you get the starter out, you want to compare the old starter and new starter. Yes, I know they're very different looking, but you want to make sure that the mounting bolts are similar. You also want to make sure the teeth are similar. Count the teeth, make sure everything's the same. My starter is the same as my old one. Now, you want to measure and make sure that you have the correct distance between the flywheel and the teeth. Right, the teeth. You want to measure from there. You don't want to measure the whole thing, just from there. Now, the closest you want the teeth to be to the flywheel is 1/16. If it's any closer, you need to install the shim that came with the starter. If it's too close to the starter will be engaged while the engine is started, and it will destroy the starter and possibly catch your car on fire. Please read the instructions, measure your stuff. It's super easy. Just takes a tape measure. All right, let's get these back in the car. So what I'm doing to clock this starter is I took the mounting piece off of the starter, bolted it in. Then what I'm doing is I'm putting the starter in and moving it to where I want it. And then after I have it where I want it, I'm going to mark it on a Sharpie, take the mounting piece back off, bolt it all back together. When you bolt it back together, you want to use blue Loctite. That way the bolts don't come out, and God only knows what would happen if the bolts came out in that damn thing. Super easy. Just keep it really tucked in. Make sure your headers are nice and happy. Keep it as far away from your headers as humanly possible. That's the real advice. As far from the headers as humanly possible. So to put the starter back in, it's just the two bolts you moved. That one and that one, and then you'll put the wire. This one needs to be the battery, and this one is the ignition wire. This can have an always constant of the battery, and this one is the switch. Basically, there's a relay built in. I showed you how to wire those, so you can decide on how you want to do that yourself. But yeah, the one thing that does suck, no matter how I clock the starter, either this bolt was going to be blocked or this bolt. I figured I was going to make, see, I can't fit my finger in there. I can't fit a wrench in there. It's going to take work to get it back out. I figured the bottom bolt was better than the top bolt, which is hidden with headers. I don't have my headers in right now. Just to make this video and help you guys out, I took them off. So that's going to be your choice. All right, that's all I got to do. Good luck.